Hi friends, welcome back to No Book Left Behind. I'm your host Mark and I have prostate cancer. So welcome to a bonus video this week. Though it's not much of a bonus for me, is it? And not for you either, probably. You come here wanting to listen to me talk about books, not to me to talk about prostate cancer. Hardly very cheerful, is it? I'm not sure what this is going to do to my subscriber numbers or my viewing hours. Probably not very much. But here we go. I have decided to talk about this on camera. I have taken a couple of weeks to make up my mind to do it. And in fact, as I'm doing this, I'm still not entirely sure I'm going to post this video at all. But I probably will. I've basically got two reasons for doing it. One's entirely selfish and one's very selfless. And that's the important one. And we'll get back to that in a moment. But first of all, I've got a couple of things I need to get out of the way first. The first thing is, I am not a qualified medical professional. I'm not going to be able to give anybody any medical advice in this video. I will be giving one bit of advice, but it's not clinical. I think it's just more common sense. And again, we'll get to that much later in the video. But first, I just wanted to say, yeah, I'm not qualified medically in any capacity whatsoever. Okay. This is my understanding of my journey with prostate cancer so far and what's happened to me. And as I say, my understanding of it. So now we've got that clear. Second point is, this is not a GoFundMe launch. I do not need any financial assistance with any treatment I may be having for my prostate cancer. This is England, this is Great Britain, the United Kingdom. We have something very wonderful called the National Health Service, which means that treatment like this is free at the point of delivery for guys like me. I do not have to pay for anything. There's no medical fees, Medicare or anything like that I need to pay. It's all free. And if you're wondering how the hell we manage that, because if you're from outside the United Kingdom, we pay for it, but we pay for it all our lives because we pay something called national insurance, which comes out of every single pay packet we ever earn. And it's a substantial amount. And it's there to fund the NHS and everybody pays it. If you've got a job, you pay it. So that's how we're able to fund it. I mean, there are various slimy politicians out there, of course, not at all happy about this, because they want to be able to monetize sickness and death. So they're putting forward plans for various reforms like insurances and things like this, because they want a slice of part of the monetary pie, if you like, out of people being sick, which is all rather disgusting. But I'm afraid that's the world we live in right now. So I've got those two things out of the way first. So hopefully now we can just talk about why I'm posting this video. Well, the first reason is entirely selfish. It's just that I think this is going to do me good to talk about it on camera. Of course, I've had chats with friends and family about it, but somehow talking to a camera where nobody can answer you back, or at least not until they make a comment, and hopefully some of you will. But yeah, nobody can answer me back. I can just talk. I can say anything that I want. No one will interrupt me. No one will talk about their experience of this. Not that I'm not willing to listen to anyone else's experiences, but sometimes you just need to get your own feelings out there, don't you? At least I do. So that's the selfish reason that I'm doing this. The selfless reason we're going to come to at the end of the video, and I hope you stick around for that. So, well, let's dive in. How did this all start? Well, around the end of last year, I started exhibiting some symptoms, some medical symptoms. Now, I'm not going to tell you what they are because it turned out they weren't relevant. But they led to an investigation, and that investigation involved a full blood workup. Now, that came back with what they call a higher than expected PSA level. And if you don't know what a PSA is, well, it's a prostate-specific antigen, which I just had to look at, obviously. My rating was slightly over the normal threshold for that. So basically the prostate, which is a small little organ which sits below the bladder was producing more of this antigen than was normal. And that's a signpost to possibly prostate cancer. It's not a definite signpost, it's just an indicator, but the best one apparently that we have. So if somebody like me, who's middle-aged, in the 50s to 60s age bracket, that means I'm possibly at risk. I'm an at-risk person of prostate cancer. So what happens next if you have an elevated PSA? They give you a MRI, a magnetic resonance imaging test. Now, I've had a few MRIs in the past, 4 or 5 actually, so I'm quite used to the whole concept of them and how it works. But I thought if it happened to be that you were not and didn't know much about it, I thought I'd speak briefly about what happens when you have an MRI test. Basically, you go up the hospital, you take all your clothes off, which isn't as fun as it sounds, and you put on a hospital gown, one backwards and one the right way around. So you're wearing 2 of them. So in other words, all your funny bits are covered up. So you don't have to worry about anything like that. The only thing you do have to worry about is if you have any metal in your body for any reason, any implants, any piercings, things of that nature, because you're not, well, it's not a matter of not being allowed, but you should not have anything like that on you, because it will fog the results. Apparently, it will mean that the test won't really work properly. So you do have to get rid of everything. I don't quite know what happens if you've actually got any metal inside your body. Maybe some bullets, possibly. No. Sorry, a pacemaker or something of that nature. I'm not sure how that works. Obviously, they can't take that out. But yeah, I don't know how that works. But for me, for most people, if you've not got anything like that, basically, you've just got to make sure that, as I say, you're stark naked, and basically that you've got any piercings or anything else taken out beforehand. I was not allowed, for example, to wear my hearing aid because that would have screwed things up as well. And so basically what happens is you go into a room where you'll lay down on a bed, so to speak, of a huge machine. And I'm sure you know this part, but basically what they do is they fix you down, and this will either be with, if you're having your head done, which is what they're usually doing with me to look for my brain, they actually fix you in a kind of, it's not really a helmet, it's an open plastic framework that braces you on either side, so you literally cannot move your head even a centimetre. And they put earplugs in as well, because the machine's noisy. But that's what they do when they scan your head, and you basically just actually cannot move your head at all. Well, if you're going to do your prostate, obviously it's not quite the same procedure. They have another plastic framework which they put over the lower part of your body, and they fix you down and hold you down to this bed. I'm not sure what to call it. I'll carry on calling it a bed, although obviously it's part of a machine. A couch? I'm not sure. A table? I don't know. I don't know what they call it. I'm struggling for the word at the moment. But anyway, they fix you down. They may inject you with some kind of imaging dye to make the pictures more vivid and easier to analyse. That's a very quick thing. I barely even knew that they'd done that, to be honest. They also give you a panic button, which is quite a crucial thing. And once they've done that, they then send you into the tunnel where you get scanned. Now, this is the point why I wanted to mention this, is because if you're a bit claustrophobic, this might be a bit of an issue for you, because that tunnel is very low. The wall, the ceiling of it, the roof of it even, is right there. It's right in front of your face, and you are stuck in there for about 20 minutes. 20-25 minutes. Obviously, it depends on exactly what they're scanning. But that's why I've got the panic button, because if you do feel uncomfortable at any point, you can press that and they will bring you out. So there's nothing to worry about. You're safe and covered. But I suspect, I can see why people might have a problem with it, because it is a very confined space. And my personal way of dealing with it is to keep my eyes shut, obviously, and think about other things. As simplistic as that sounds, that's what I do. I sometimes even have some things that I've prepared, if you like, that I'm going to think about. I don't do it now because I've had quite a few of these things over the years, so I'm kind of used to it. In fact, actually, I remember having one when I was living back in Norwich, at the Norfolk and Norwich Hospital, where it was actually on a Sunday because they were playing catch up by doing some tests over the weekend, and it was in a mobile unit in the car park, and the whole thing, the machine was an old MRI machine, I guess, and it was so loud and shaky. It was like the whole truck was going to actually shake into pieces when it was going. And I fell asleep. So there you are. I fell asleep in the middle of the test. So, yes, that's how relaxed I was about it because I'd had several of them before. But as I say, I wanted to mention and talk about it because I could understand why, if you've never had one, you might be a bit nervous about it if it comes to the day when you do need one. But anyway, that's what happened. I had my MRI test, and within 5 or 6 days, pretty damn fast, they came back to me with the results. And as you've obviously seen the title of this video, you'll know the results weren't too great, were they? I had 2 tumours, one small and one larger in the prostate. Now, tumours like this are rated on a scale of 1 to 5 on how likely they are to be cancer. 1 being highly unlikely, 2 being unlikely, 3 being indeterminate, 4 being likely, and 5 being highly likely. Now, my 2 tumours had different results. One of them, the smaller one, was a 2, which meant obviously unlikely, but the larger one was unfortunately a 4, which meant likely. But the good news was they were contained within the prostate. There was no sign of them having spread any further. But of course, this MRI can only tell you so much. It can't tell you how aggressive these tumours are, how likely they are to spread, or even how long they've been there, because with some guys, you can have prostate cancer for years without knowing it, sometimes, apparently, even decades. But anyway, the next step was obviously to establish how aggressive these tumours might be. And for that, obviously, I was required to have a prostate biopsy. Now, I did want to talk about this because I never had a biopsy before. I didn't know what was involved. It is quite, what's the word? I didn't find it humiliating or traumatic, but it certainly wasn't easy. Put it that way. So, in a sense, it's similar to the MRI in the fact you go through the same procedure to start with. You take all your clothes off, you have the gowns, you go into a room where there are some medical professionals, and you lie on a table. But it's not quite the same at that point, because at that point what happens, well, with a prostate biopsy anyway, is, well, I guess it's similar to a woman when she visits her gynecologist. And yes, you've got the picture, I think, there. Your feet go up into stirrups, spread out, and someone will basically, a lovely medical professional doctor, she will go in there to basically reach inside with a machine and clip bits of these tumours off. That's the easiest way. See, I don't know anything about technical side of it. That's kind of what happened. There were 3 of these lovely ladies in the room. There was her, there was her assistant, and there was another nurse whose job was to sit beside me on a chair and basically talk to me throughout the process to take my mind off it and to keep things cool and friendly. In fact, the 4 of us ended up having a bit of a chat and a laugh while one of them was reaching between my legs to clip bits out of there. With something that sounded very strangely like a staple gun, actually. And if you're thinking that sounds very painful, it wasn't, because what they do first is they put on an I've lost the word. Anaesthetic. An anaesthetic gel, which stings like hell for about a second. But after that, you don't feel anything. Nothing whatsoever. But I can see why that process, because you are lying there in that position for probably about 15 to 20 minutes. By the way, you have your, you are holding your bits out of the way, in case you're wondering about that. You just like, keep them out of the way while the person gets on with harvesting your tumours, basically. So yes, after that, there are some possible side effects. In fact, what they do is they won't let you go for about an hour, because you then put all your clothes back on, you sit in a ward somewhere, they offer you a cup of tea and some biscuits, which is great, and you have to go to and urinate once, and they'll want to see what came out before they'll let you go. And that was all very standard stuff. I was fine after about 10 minutes, but I waited for the whole hour because I thought, well, let's do what I'm told. I'm one of those people who believes in actually listening to experts and people who've spent their whole lives studying something rather than believing on some stuff that I read on the internet or thinking I know best just because I do, because I don't. Anyway, so I hung around for about an hour, and they give you a leaflet and a telephone number to ring because there could be some side effects happen later. For example, you might have blood in your urine, you might have blood in your semen. It's nothing to worry about. The only thing that did surprise me about it is that can happen a couple of weeks later even, which was really quite a surprise to me. I expected it to happen immediately, and they said, no, it'll be a few days, but it could be as long as a couple of weeks before something will come out and show up. And it did. But enough of that. So that was what happened there. That was the biopsy procedure. So sorry if that was a bit graphic for some of you. I was fine with it. It wasn't a pleasant experience, don't get me wrong, but it's nothing to be frightened of. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's not that bad. And it's very, very important, and you've got to have it done if you have tumours, because otherwise how will they know what they need to do with them? So after that was the worst thing, because after that it was like a 4-week wait to get the lab results. And that was the worst thing for me, because as I say, I mentioned that there were some medical symptoms which sent me down this road initially, and I still had those, and they were getting worse. And obviously I made the connection. So that was a pretty bad time. I thought I was for it, quite frankly. If I want to be honest with you, I really did. But when the results came back, yes, these tumours were cancer. And in a way, the fact that I was already expecting the worst was good, because I'd already accepted that they were cancer. So this was not something that upset me or surprised me. I'd already accepted it. So the important thing is, how aggressive was it, and what could they do about it? Well, how they measure this aggressiveness is something called the Gleason scale, which I'd never heard of. But you get 2 scores out of 5, which they then combine together to give you a score out of 10. It's complicated. Now, the thing is, if you score 6 or under, the only thing they will offer you in terms of treatment is something called active surveillance. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. They will keep testing you over a period of time and monitor the tumours to see whether they are getting bigger, worse, and need treatment. Because what I never knew, you can just live with prostate cancer. If you have 6 or under on the Gleason scale, it's fine. You don't have to do anything. Obviously, as I say, you're monitored and tested frequently, but that's as much as it is. So wouldn't that be great to only get a 6 or, less than that? Well, it would have been, but of course I didn't, did I? I got a 7. So I am the lowest rung out of those who will be offered the available treatments. So the Gleason score, as I say, is made up of 2 components. I scored a 3 plus a 4. Now that's a lot nicer than scoring a 4 plus a 3. So a 3 plus a 4 puts you in what they call the Cambridge Prognostic Group 2. And that means that basically my cancer is likely to grow very slowly and is very unlikely to spread, and is contained, in my case, within the prostate. So I'm being offered treatment for it, but I am low risk of those who are being offered the treatment. So it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. So when I was talking with medical professionals about this afterwards, they were quite surprised that I wasn't upset. or that I wasn't as worried as they thought I would be, because I thought it was going to be a lot worse. I'll be honest, I really did. So this was actually quite a good result in a bizarre sort of way. So now what happens now is obviously I have to meet with various medical professionals again to talk about the treatments that are available, because the situation is that I get the option. I can have all these treatments. Well, not all of them, because that would be silly, but I can have any one of these treatments that I want. I can go on active surveillance, and just be tested and just see how it goes. I can have the surgery where they actually just remove the prostate entirely, so that it just completely gets rid of the cancer. I can have radiotherapy, where they pump you full, obviously, of radiation. I mean, I don't know what superpowers I might get. I mean, you know, I quite like Spider-Man. I mean, that would be a good idea to get some Spidey powers, wouldn't it? But there are various types of radiotherapy. Sorry, I'm joking. So there are various types of it that you can have. There's one type where they actually have what they call seeds, which are like kind of these, I suppose, like these little metal balls that they basically insert into your prostate, and they slowly give off radiation over a period of time. Something like that. It's got a very long name. I haven't really read about it in any depth yet, although of course they have given me all the literature. I've got piles of leaflets to read, as you would imagine, and of course I will read them. Of course I will, but not yet. I thought I'd make this video first and depress all of you instead. But yeah, so there are those things. There's hormone therapy you can have, although I'm not sure that's actually going to be too appropriate for me, from what I've briefly read about it already. But yes, all these treatments are being offered to me. I can take any of them that I want to, and I have feelings already about what I might have done, but I'm going to wait to hear what the experts have to say. And the main reason for that is all these treatments come with side effects, and they're pretty radical side effects too, some of them. So I think it's something you really have to take your time and think about. And luckily, because of the type of cancer that I have got the time to think about it. They've made it very clear to me I don't have to rush into anything here. So that's the current position, and I probably will post, if I do actually post this video, if I do it, if I push the button and upload it, I will update you at a future date about how these things are going, because it would be unfair to leave people with a sort of like a cliffhanger almost, wouldn't it? That I wouldn't be a very good writer if I did that, would I? It'd be sequel baiting, I think they call it. But yes. I'll be updating you at some point. So now we come to the main point of this video. If you remember from the start, I had some medical symptoms which drove me down this road to get investigated. They didn't turn out to be related to prostate cancer. They found that by accident. The prostate cancer itself was giving me 0 symptoms. Nothing. And most men die of prostate cancer because it's discovered too late. Because of that very reason, they didn't know that anything was wrong. So my message to you today is, if you're in that group, if you're a man in his 50s or 60s, get tested. It's not difficult. All you have to do is ring your local surgery and ask for a blood test. Ask to be tested for it. It's as simple as that. The screening is just that blood test. I mean, if you're worried about, the doctor's going to put his finger up my bum or whatever, yeah, they do that at one point, just to check out whether the prostate feels smooth or rough, because that's a good indicator. But they'll do the blood test first. You know, they need to look at your PSA before they do anything else. And if you're still unsure about whether you should do it, just think about what might happen if you don't. Because I got lucky, you might not be. And if you take some time to think about that, imagine what it would be if, say in a couple of years' time, they discover you actually have it and it's too late. And if you got tested in time, they might have been able to do something. You know, it's a mistake you won't be able to take back. There won't be any sort of like, oh God, this is so unfair, and and putting it right somehow. No, it won't. Nobody can. You'll die. So why not just get tested? If you need any more encouragement, just think about your family and friends and your loved ones. How would they feel if they then have to watch you go down the road of deterioration? How helpless they will feel, because there will be nothing that they can do. There'll be nothing that anyone can do. And how do you think they'll feel being left behind afterwards? How will they cope? Oh, are they looked after financially even? And all you had to do was just go down your surgery a couple of years earlier and get a test, a blood test, a minute or so, half an hour out of your day really, half an hour to go down there, get tested and come back again. And that might save your life. So why not do it? It's stupid not to. And if you're a friend or a family member or child of someone who falls into this category, a significant other, pester them until they get screened. Just do it. You just nag them. You might just save their life. So that's it for today's video. Something a little bit different. I suppose we need to do the normal spiel about popping me a quick like and subscribing to the channel if you've enjoyed this video, but it does seem a little bit of a strange thing to say. And I'm not sure what this is really going to do for my subscriber numbers or my watching hours, as I say, as it's something very different and very personal. And I hope you don't mind me sharing it with you. It's well intentioned because I think guys in this group need to get tested. You won't regret it. So I could finish with my usual spiel about seeking out second-hand bookshops and treasures that only you can find, but it just seems a little bit weird to do that. So I'll simply just say goodbye for now and thank you for listening.